good? What's good? I want to start off by giving all praises to the Most High. We do so. And it's only begotten Son, Yahweh Shab. Put my little thing back up here as we get going. Throw my cool on. So, I know y'all see the title. You know, we are getting into this, starting Black History, y'all, just a little early this year, you dig? So, you know what I'm saying, we're going to understand that our history, well, trying to get the understanding that our history is in, you know, in the book that we call the Bible. Because it is a book that's written by our ancestors and what I like to call FUBU, for us and by us, you know. And so, yeah, we're going to get into our Maccabees brothers and see, like, the stuff that they went through and the history behind the Maccabees, you know, and so we can get a little understanding with that. And so what we're going to do, we're going to start with, we're going to go to First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1, right? Get a little understanding of what's going on in the world. Because like I said, this is our history book. Oh, but like I said, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, and who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shai, right? And but before I get started, to give y'all a quick little story. Something that I seen like a few days ago that kind of prompted me to say something to this person. One of my so-called Facebook friends, whatever, right? He's part of the small hat, curly hair people, right? And so basically, long story short, now he's one of those people that most of our people will call like one of the good guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he likes black people. He deal with black women. You know, so you know, then we think just because they deal with our women that they're just these cool people, whatever, right? And so like I said, like how the scriptures say, so you know, just like how iron rust shows his ways, right? You know, so we see that the devil will show his horns when you give him a chance to. Just that a lot of times we don't pay attention. And what made me mad about the whole situation was that a lot of our people was high-fiving him and giving them credence to his comment. So long story short, basically saying that, you know, he feel like that the right woman for him is a white woman, but until then he's going to continue messing with black women. And a lot of people is like, oh, yeah, you know, yeah, mess with black women. You know, you don't know, you know, do with white women anyway, blah, blah, blah. All, you know, all this, you know, so-called coonery. And it's kind of making me mad because I'm like, our people don't even understand when we're being disrespected. I'm like, because basically he's saying he's going to keep sleeping with black women, using them for whatever, you know, for sex or whatever, because people don't understand how sexualized our women have become throughout the world, you know, and you know, a lot of these different nations look at our women as prostitutes, dots, you know, for lack of better term. You know, that's why, like, sometimes you can be, as a black woman, you can be walking down the street and a random man might pull up on you and offer you money for sex. That's, like, not happening to every woman like that, you know. And we got to understand, like, how our women is being sexualized and looked upon, you know, at these, with these different nations. So, and I know that he's, you know, a Jewish person, and even though I don't believe that he practiced Judaism, but he is part of that persuasion. So I know that he know a little something, if not from a family member or whatever the case. I know he know. So, and I explained to him that as far as it's against the law to treat women like prostitutes. If you're not planning on settling down with this woman, then you shouldn't sleep with them. So then he's basically saying that he's going to sleep with our women. Then when he's ready to find that right woman, he's going to find him a nice little Jewish girl. And everybody was so cool about that. What I mean, everybody talking about our people was so cool about that. And so it just kind of made me mad, and I had to just basically, you know, talk to him, you know, and give him my grievances on that. You know, it was a cool conversation. He didn't buck up or nothing like that, you know, but I just have to let them know I appreciate that, because somebody got to stand up for our women. And if you're gonna call yourself trying to culture appropriate and be part of our culture, then you have to respect our people on all levels. And we got to understand that these people have lack of respect for us. And then with us, feeding into that, and that gives them credence to say whatever they want to say. If we high five and everything they say, we're not understanding that is disrespect. So basically, he's saying he's gonna use our women as, someone to sleep with, but then when he really want to settle down, he's gonna find him a nice little Jewish woman. That's crazy. But nobody peeped that because they were so caught up in the fact of, well, he deals with black people, for the most part, so he's cool. And that's crazy. When you give them a chance, they'll tell you who they are. I mean, I know a lot of so-called white people that are supposed to be good people, right? Because they deal with black people, they got a certain type of spirit about them that, whatever. But when you let them talk long enough, they will show you who they are. It's just that we don't pay attention. I met several white people that make fun of their black friends because they black friends, is basically clueless of what's going on. And and they be honest, because if you ain't bullshitting with them, they're not gonna bullshit with you. So they'll tell you straight up, this black person is an Oreo, and they will say that, and they will make fun of them. But we don't understand that because we think because they laughing in our face, we're cool, and that ain't the case. And the white people I'm talking about is the same white people that majority of us will point out and say, oh, that's a cool white person right there. No, he's not like the rest. These the same ones that were behind your back laughing at you and thinking that you a baboon, a fool, for even, lowering yourself to even deal with them. And that's crazy, but we don't understand that because when they be talking to us and showing us certain signs, we ignore it. We too late in the game. But like I said, I digress because I'm going to go on a whole tantrum about that. But I just have to get that off my chest. But we're going to get into it, Maccabees, right? And so this First Maccabees, chapter 1 verse 1. And it happened after Alexander, the son of Philip. Now this is Alexander the Great, who in the history books were called Alexander the Great, but we know him as Alexander the Freak. But Alexander the Great, son of Philip, and the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chisnu, and had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned instead the first over Greece. So this is who I like to call white Jesus, because white people wasn't even doing nothing at this point in time. They was in the caves, living defoully. Then here comes Alexander the Great and put them on. Boom, right? So and made many wars and won many strongholds and sued the kings of the earth. So this is, we're going into history because we know Alexander took over a lot of the known lands, right? And it went throughout the ends of the earth and took spoils over many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. Meaning, there wasn't no other nation that can, that would, can stand against him, and it was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. So he got proud. After he took over many nations and took over, the known world, he got proud. And it says, and he gathered the mighty strongholds and ruled over the countries and nations and kings who became tributaries to him. So he made the known world pay taxes to him, right? And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Therefore he called his servants as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and pardoned his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. Because Alexander was into a lot of different sexual activities, if you know what I mean. So catching this disease, and dying pretty soon. But before he died, he split up his kingdom amongst his 4 generals, right? Therefore, he called his servants as they were. Okay, so Alexander reigned for 12 years and then died, and the servants bear rule. The servants bear rule, everyone in his place, right? So, like I said, so he split up his kingdom amongst his different generals and so forth, right? Before he died, and then they took over and they ruled over the known world at that time. So, and it says, after his death, they put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evil multiplied on the earth. So what is the Bible telling us? When these people are in rulership, evil multiplied on the earth. And we see that who's in rulership now, and evil is multiplying upon the earth. That's why everything is so wicked now as we see it. And so like I said, when they took over, a lot of evil multiplied. And their descendants are still running things now. Because America is just an extension of the Roman Empire. So, and we see all the wickedness that's going on around the world, not just here, but everywhere. And so it says, we're going to jump over to Proverbs real quick. Proverbs 29 and 16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increase. So these people are known as the wicked according to the Bible. And it says, when the wicked are multiplied, transgressions increase, meaning the evilness, all this hardship, all the stuff that we see going on, it increased. But the righteous shall see their fall. So meaning, we stay still in this thing, we're going to see the downfall of these people that's looking like they progressing through their wickedness and their mischievousness and their deceitfulness, right? And it says, when the wicked is raised, this is Proverbs 28 and 28. When the wicked raised, men hide themselves. But when they perish, the righteous increase. So again, so it's like when wickedness is out, the righteous people, or people they go into fear because it's like turmoil out here. It's like anarchy. Then it says it's Revelation 6 and 3. When he had opened up the second seal, and I heard the second beast come out, and I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and the power was given to him that sat thereon. To take peace from the earth. And that's what these people have done since they came into rulership. They took the peace from the earth. That's why it's so crazy everywhere you go. Because these people have taken the peace from the earth. And it says, and they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. That great sword is the power of war. To make war with people, to go around slaying and killing people like they have done since they left the shores of Europe. That's what they've been doing around the whole world, right? Then and that's it on that. So now back to Maccabees 1 and 10. And there came out of them wicked root of Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, and son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And we know what is Rome, and the people of Rome is. And he reigned in 137 years of the kingdom of Greeks. And we know what the Greeks is. In those days, when they're out of Israel, wicked men. So now, let's talk about our people, Israel. And it says, it went out wicked men, meaning we had some traitors. We had some, for the lack of better terms, some Uncle Toms. Some bootlicking people that want to kiss up to master, that betrayed our people during this time. And it says, in those days, went out of Israel wicked men who persuade many, saying, let us make a covenant with the heathens. The heathens are people that's outside of Israel, let us make covenant with the heathen that are around about for us. For since we departed from them, we have much sorrow. So now you got these coons, these traders that's, feeling like, oh, we need master to help us, to be better. So since we split from them, things been rough. And we the only people that talk like that. You know what I'm saying? Most, when the so-called curly-haired, small-haired people departed from Germany, they didn't look back. They stood on their own 2 feet. You know what I'm saying? But we the only ones that think we need these people co-sign, us to do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Instead of us, standing on our own 2 feet like we did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, creating Black Wall Street, like we did in Rosewood, like we did in Harlem, New York, like how we did in Chicago, create, make Chicago a city, and all that different stuff, So we got to have that same spirit. Whereupon they built a place of exercise in Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. So they built them a gymnasium in Israel, just like how they got in Rome and Greece and stuff, those gymnasiums that they built, right? And we know what type of freakiness goes on in those gymnasiums, right? And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves unto the heathen. And so to do mischief, right? So like I said, they stopped. A lot of, some of our people start following their own customs and start following the Greek way of life, instead of keeping to our own customs, because they wanted to just try to get in good with these people, because these people, like I said, at the time, they was taking over the known world. And it says, and when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, and when you look up Antiochus, I believe he, like I said, he's one of the 4 generals of Alexander. So now, but his region was like technically what we would call the Middle East and Asia area. He ruled that part, So then, and he thought to reign over Egypt and might have dominion over the 2 realms. So not only did he have the Middle East, he wanted, because like there was another guy, I think, forgot how to pronounce his name. But he had Egypt in that area over that North Africa and Southern Europe and all that. He had that area. But he wanted to make war with Ptolemy, if I'm saying his name right, forgive me. Ptolemy, I think that's who it is. He wanted to make war with him, which is one of the other generals of Alexander, because he wanted that region also. So then, before, let me see, so Antiochus thought to reign over Egypt that he might have dominion over the 2 realms, because he wanted what he had, and he wanted what the ruler of Egypt and other parts of Africa and Southern Europe had over there. Then, therefore, he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, that's his name, Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded and died. So Ptolemy got up out of there. He's like, man, Antiochus is about that. And I don't want no problems with Antiochus, so I'm up out of here. So Ptolemy fled. So Ptolemy, eventually ended up taking over Egypt, I guess. And it says, thus they got strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took spoils thereof. And after Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now, he's making war with our people. And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick. And the candlestick is like what I got here, this menorah that's sitting on the dust right here. But of course that one was a little more bigger, grand scale. You can see like archaeological pictures of this also. Of them marching into Jerusalem and taking out our menorah. It's like real super big. Took a few people to carry. So this is like history that we read. So, when you understand that the Bible is dealing with history of a people, and this is our history book. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with religion, even though the oppressor done took our book and made a million different religions off of it. But the Bible is only dealing with history of a people, and that people was called the Israelites, and the Israelites is who we call the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American today. You know, at least that's what we're known as on this side of the world, right? So, moving on. And entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlesticks of light and the vessels thereof, right? And the table of showbread and the pouring of vessels and the vials and all the censers of gold and the veils and the crown and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, which all which he had pulled off. So they stole everything, and we know their history. We know when they go into places, they take everything. That's what they do. You know, they're master thieves. They go and take everything, then they want to point the finger at us and act like we're the thieves. When they, throughout history, been robbing every culture that they go to, right? And we see it right here, how they took everything. And it says, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all the way, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre. Because, like I said, he slaughtered a lot of our people during that time. You know, a lot of our people died, you know, during this time. And spoke very proudly. So after they done took care of it, he spoke very proudly, just like how several months ago we had something called Thanksgiving. They killed our Native American brothers. Then after they killed our Native American brothers and sisters, they spoke very proudly. They called it Thanksgiving afterwards. You dig? And it says, therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in the place where they were, so that the princes and the elders mourned, and the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. And that word virgin, like I said, we got to understand the Hebrew word for virgin, which means young women, you know, not virgin meaning like someone that haven't had sex before, but virgin just meaning a woman that's young, you know, just a young lady, you know, someone between the age of 18 to 25 or such, you know, a young woman. You know, the concept of virgin meaning never having sex before, that is a Greek Roman, you know, definition, you know, that's been placed on us, you know, and that's not how we would use the word virgin in our culture. So, moving on. And it says that and the beauty of the women was changed, meaning like, you know, like they made the land desolate. You know, a woman couldn't even, you know, get fly how they usually like to get fly. You know, everything was stolen. They took everything and they made it so that it wasn't no reason for you to get all dressed up. You know, because everything was, you know, basically for like hell, right? And the bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. And the land also moved for the inhabitants, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on, and you know, and a lot of hell breaking out. It was just a terrible time for us when these people came into our land and started stealing and ransacking everything. After 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector to tribute into the city of Judah, who came into the Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peacefully words to them. So after they done jacked up everything, then they want to send in a dignitaries to try to impose taxes on us and make us pay taxes, and what did it say? And spake peaceful words to them. So now they want to come in acting like it's all peace, right? Just like how they do in America. How they stole everything and robbed everybody, and now they want to tell everybody that we equal. Like, it ain't equal. I mean, you done took everything. That's just, you done, how I like to say, you done played King of the Mountain while everybody was asleep. You was playing King of the Mountain pushing everybody off the mountain until you're the only one on the mountain. So now that we woken up, now you want to say, oh, it's equal now. You know, we ain't got to do all this. It's equal. You know, everybody's equal. It wasn't equal when you was doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's still not equal because you stole everything, and now you deciding who gets what and who don't get what. You know, so it's not equal. So that's what it's the same people. This is what they did back then, and they doing it now. So now they come in speaking peacefully, right? They come in speaking peacefully. Speaking peacefully. Like I said, that's crazy, right? They done destroyed everything. Now they want to come in speaking peacefully. That's crazy, right? They come in speaking peaceful words unto them, but all was deceit. And of course it was all deceit, because I mean, you just was killing us a moment ago. Now that you done subdued us, and now we ain't, got the manpower to fight back. Now you want to come in speaking peace, but of course it's all deceit, because they want to steal and keep stealing and robbing and keep killing, because that's in their nature. It says, for when they was given to him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and put down the houses and walls thereof on every side. And that's what they did. They burnt a lot of our stuff. They took a lot of our records, a lot of our history, and they burnt it. Just like the Conquistadors when they came over to South America. And they see how beautiful everything was. Now, these are the only people. Now, I'm not saying in Barbados, but this is technically what Cortez, Hernandez, and all them other people said when they seen how beautiful it was. Wow, this is a beautiful land. Let's burn it all. That's basically what they said. I mean, I'm not saying in Barbados in the history books, but that's basically what they said when they came over to this land. Wow, this is so nice. Let's burn it. And they did that then, and they did it now, and they continue, and that's just how they is. And they burn things. That's why I hate watching those shows when they talk about the mystery of the Mayans, or the mystery of the Incas, or the Aztecs, right? And they act like they don't know what happened to these people. Y'all came and killed them. That's what happened. Y'all destroyed most of them. And y'all took their records and they burnt them. Everything that we know about the Mayan calendar, or the Mayans and all that stuff, we know from 5 books. All the history that we ever know about the Mayans came from out of 5 books, because they burnt all the rest of them. So we wouldn't even know anything about the Mayan people if those 5 books didn't survive. That's crazy. Then they want to make these TV shows talking about what happened to the Mayans. Where did they go? You know what happened to them. You killed them. That's why, I can watch some of the shows for just a little bit until it just started getting at me, because I understand that y'all killed these people. And y'all displaced these people. So what are you talking about? You don't know what happened to them. You know what happened to them. If little old me knows what happened to them, I know y'all know what happened to them. But I digress. So, and it says, and he fell suddenly upon the city and smote very sore and destroyed much of the people. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and the walls thereof on every side. But the women and children they took captive and possessed the cattle. And then they built the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made a stronghold in them. So they set up shop like how they always do. They set up shop, and it says, and then boom, 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 boom. And he put, boom, boom, boom. Okay, and they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves wherein. And they stored it unto also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became sore and snares, right? So they took all our stuff, and they, that's why the Vatican got a lot of artifacts up in there. That's why, the Buckingham Palace got a lot of our artifacts up in there, because they took it all. And they passed it down to their descendants. That's why they got it today. And And they shed innocent blood. Hold on, right there. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and the evil adversary to Israel. So basically, too, like they stole some of our stuff and they left it out in the open, hoping that we will come and get it so they can kill more of us. You know, so they put it in a place where we can see it and hoping that we be like, just go get that back. Then as we go get it back, they ambush us and kill more of us, right? So, then, boom, boom, boom. And it says, they shed innocent blood, boom, boom, boom. They shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. And much so that inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers. And it became strange to those that were born in her and to her own children that was left. So, meaning like the Israelites, our people, we got to a point where how these people took over our land so much and they changed so much things that the land became strange to us. It's like, dang, we didn't even recognize our own land anymore because how things was being ran and the things that was being done, right? Because these people are like cancerous. When they come to a place, they take over and they change things, all right? And her sanctuary was laid to waste, our temple, like wilderness, and her feasts were turned into mourning, and her Sabbath unto reproach, and her honor into contempt. As we had glory so much as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, right? Just like how Americans say, oh, we all one. We're all one people, right? We're all Americans here. So it's the same philosophy. And Antiochus was pushing that same philosophy like, oh, we all one people. You don't have to call yourself this or call yourself that. Hey, we're all Greeks. Everybody's a Greek. You know what I'm saying? So just chill on that. We all cool, right? Hold on 1 second, y'all. Salakia. Salakia, excuse me, yo. But, no, right? So, like I said, that's what they was pushing, the whole oneness, Like, yeah, we all one, right? You don't have to represent your nationality. Just call yourself, we're Greeks now. We're, how they do it in America. We're all Americans now. You got what they call Chinese Americans. You got these people that's from other nations and they just disregarded their own culture to call themselves Americans now. So it's the same thing. Because these are the same people. So moreover, the king Antiochus wrote unto his kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So it's like, hey, leave your own customs, leave your laws the way of the land. We're going to follow this, right? Many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So, like I said, a lot of our people end up falling into that whole, thing and saying, all right, okay, cool, we're going to be Greeks. We're going to be the Greek people now. That's why when you read in the New Testament, when they're talking about neither Jew or Greek, so those Greeks is not talking about the physical Greeks. It's talking about our people who were going around calling themselves Greeks. And you can look that up, yourself, and it'll tell you that the Greeks were Israelites, were were Hellenized Jews. That's what it tell you who the Greeks was when you look into the Bible dictionary or the Strong Concordance. It tell you that these people were Hellenized Jews, okay? Hellenistic Jews. So it wasn't talking about physical Greeks, because like if we're gonna go off that notion in the New Testament where it says neither Jew or Greek, then basically you're saying only two people that can get salvation is got to be either you Greek or you Jew. So that would still leaves out the whole rest of the world. So that can't be what it's saying. When you understand that our people start going by the name of Greeks, and then it also, like in the Bible, it also refers to the so-called white people as Grecians. So we was calling ourselves Greeks at that time, and they were the Grecians. And so anywho, then what did it say? Then everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandments. Many also of the Israelites consented unto his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and had the city of Judah that they should follow strange laws of the land. So they even changed our laws and how we did things, like how America came here and jacked up everything, because the Native Americans that was here in this land, they had a system going. It wasn't a scarce buffaloes and stuff like that, because they had a system. They knew not to kill every last damn buffalo, and they knew how to do certain things. But when the white man came, they killed like 100,000 buffaloes, and then starved the Indians out, the so-called Native Americans out, moved them to reservations, which is nothing but ghettos, and for them, and prison houses, for lack of a better term, and so it's the same thing. So it says, the king had sent out letters and messengers into the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. They came and changed the whole land and everything. Then it says, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings unto the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and the festival days. So they even stopped us from following our feast days. We start following their holidays, right? And like we do here in America, we follow their holidays. We don't know not one holiday that we should keep that's of our people. But we will keep Christmas. We will keep Thanksgiving. We will keep their 4th of July. We will keep their whatever type of holidays they got. I don't know. I stopped doing that stuff a long time ago. But we get it. You know what I'm saying? We keep their holidays, but we don't know our holidays. Like last month, we had what the world called, what we call Hanukkah, or Feast of Dedication, which so happened kind of ran into Christmas, but, it started like maybe a week or so before Christmas started, I think. I'm not sure, but can't remember. But we, we didn't keep Hanukkah. We celebrate Christmas last month. Like, then what holiday we had before that? Then just different holidays, like even in the Feast of Tabernacles. We didn't celebrate. We celebrated what, Halloween, and all that stuff, but we didn't celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, which is our holiday, and so like I said, and so forth and so forth. Then the next month, a lot of our people are going to celebrate Valentine's Day, which is another holiday that marks the slaughter of our people. But we don't know that, because we think Valentine's Day is all about love. But it's a mark. It marks the slaughter of our people. But we don't celebrate that. Instead of celebrating the Feast of Purim, which is our version of Christmas, where we, hand gifts to each other and all that stuff, or what's the other one too? I mean, we got two holidays. They back to back, but the only one I can think of is Purim right now. But so we don't, but we're not gonna do those holidays. We're gonna do Valentine's Day, and I think it was destruction of Nicanor. I think the destruction of Nicanor falls on Valentine's Day, and the Feast of Purim is the next day. That's the one I'm thinking. But like I said, we ain't gonna do the destruction of Nicanor. We're gonna do Valentine's Day because we've been programmed to follow their holidays. Like how we reading in the book of Maccabees, how our people was made to follow their holidays during the times of the Greeks. So, and forbidden burnt offerings, blah blah blah. Okay, and polluted the sanctuary and holy people, and set up altars and groves and chapels and of idols, and sacrificed swine flesh, which is the pig, and unclean beasts. Right. And when you get into that word groves is like strip clubs. What we call it nowadays, how Atlanta got like strip clubs everywhere. So that's what happened. We set up these strip clubs in Israel. But back then they called groves. And we start following their customs and doing these type of things. And now you got a lot of our people that can't wait to get to the strip club when the weekend comes. They take all their money and get singles, bills, or whatever, how much they want to get, and they go to the strip club. But back then, we wasn't doing things like this. This is customs that was forced onto our people. You know, and it says they set up altars and groves. Groves are strip clubs, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts. So, like I said, we start, and just like how now we like to eat all this shrimp, crab, and lobster stuff, catfish, and all this type of pork. You know, they started making our people do it back then. You know, that wasn't a thing that we did. You know, but we do it now willingly because now they tell us that eating crab and lobster, that's a luxury, that's a commodity. So we were like, oh yeah, that's a delicacy, so yeah, just eat it. Not knowing that stuff is destroying your body. You know, because we knew back then not to eat these things. So then, and they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manners of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinance. So, and that's what happens all the way to these Americas. We forgot the laws of God. You know, then you go to church, which don't make it better, because they tell you in church that the laws of God is done away with, that we don't have to follow the laws of God. You know, so now you got the church doubling down on what we already been brainwashed on to think that we don't, you know, we got to keep these laws here in America. Then church tell you, oh wait, don't worry about God's laws. You know, Jesus done away with all that. And that's not true. You would never ever read that in the Bible. Never ever 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 ever. Never ever. Never ever ever read that, right? But that's what we've been taught. Because we don't understand that we are following their way of life and not our own. And that's why everything is so jacked up for us. That's why everything is so upside down. Then it says, and whosoever will not according to the commandments of the king, he says, should die. So that's what happened, especially during slavery. When we didn't want to do what Master said and follow what Master said on that plantation, we will die. When a Roman Catholic Church and the other little Holy Empire came over to the side of the world and started killing people, when they had that white Jesus sign and the cross and making the native people over here follow that, and they didn't bow to it, they died. And same thing back then. If we didn't follow what Antiochus and them was saying, we died. You know, and let's get this. It's Maccabees 6:6, right? So we're going to jump to Maccabees 6:6 precept. It says, neither was it lawful for any man to keep the Sabbath or ancient feast, or profess himself to be a Jew. So that's going back to what I said earlier in the New Testament where we were calling ourselves Greeks. That's why, you know, when you see the word Greek or Roman in the New Testament, it's not talking about the actual flesh and blood Greeks and Romans. It's talking about our people that took on that identity because it was against the law for us to identify ourselves as Israelites. You know, just like how technically now it's against the law to identify yourself as Israelite. Because we see how they came down on Kyrie Irving just for sharing a title of a book, a title of a movie. How they came at him, and a lot of other people, right? And it says, neither was it lawful for any man to keep the Sabbath day or ancient feast or profess himself to be a Jew. It says, in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought bitter constraints to eat the sacrifice, and when the feast and when the fast of the drunkards was kept, the Jews were compelled to go to procession to bunkers and carry ivy. So like I said, they made us do all this stuff. They got us in their parades and made us do these different things, right? So moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashion and be partakers of their sacrifices. So they made us take place, and they forced us to celebrate their holidays. You know, nowadays we just do the stuff willingly. We go to the grocery store and buy the biggest turkey we can find. We go and try to find red, white, and blue clothes to wear for the 4th of July. You know, and when they told us our history don't matter, when we bring up the past, they're like, oh, nigga, that happened a long time ago. Don't worry about that. But they're still celebrating the 4th of July. Every year they have something called Remember 9/11. But they tell you that your history don't matter. That happened a long time ago. Let it go. That's crazy, right? And we do that. Because by celebrating their Christmases and their other little holidays that they got going on here. Then, it says, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. So they was killing us back then, you know, whenever we didn't follow their laws and their holidays. But now, like I said, we do it willingly now. We celebrate these holidays. It says, they shall be put to death, then might a man have seen the present misery, right? So like I said, it's either like suffer the consequences or follow these laws. And a lot of our people was choosing to follow their laws. Then it says, back to Maccabees chapter 1:51. In that same manner, he wrote to his whole kingdom to appoint the overseer over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. And many of the people were gathered unto them with every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. So like I said, so we start becoming wicked like these people, right? Then it says, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even where so they could flee from the succor. So like I said, we have to, you know, the righteous ones of us, we have to get away from that and try to break in the we went into hiding. You know what I'm saying? And it says, now the 15th day of the month, Cashew, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation, which would be the temple of Zeus. They put the statue of Zeus in our sanctuary, in our temple in Jerusalem. That's what the abomination of desolation. That's that Zeus statue. And it says, upon the altar and built altars throughout the city of Judah, on every side, and burnt incense at the door of their houses and the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, so then they started destroying our history books, start taking our books and destroying them. They said they rent them in pieces. The books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. So then they start burning everything. You know, we know this is what they do, because they did it when they came over here. They burnt everything. And it said, and whosoever was found with any book of the Testament. So if you was found with these scrolls, these manuscripts of our, you know, what we call today the Bible, uh, whoever was found with any book of the Testament, or if any committed to the law, the king commanded was the king commandment was that they should be put to death. So they was killing us for trying to keep our own customs and following our laws. So that's the strange part. Nowadays we do it willingly, follow the ways of America and other places that we scattered to. Instead of trying to get back to our own culture and our own heritage. And we wonder why we ain't got our own Chinatown or our own Jewtown or our own Little Italy in these different cities that we live in. But these other people got something like that. So they know how to stick to their culture. Speaking of the Asian people, the Chinese people are the least people to vote in America. And they living fine. They ain't worrying about who the next president is, but we is. Because we got that spirit on us that we want to know whose master is. Which master should we follow? Instead of sticking to our own. Right? And it says, and thus did they by their own authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many were found in the cities. Now the 5 and 20th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol's altar, which was upon the altar of God. So like I said, so then they set up their own altar in our temple. At which time, according to the commandment, that they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. So then, some of our women that were still trying to keep to the law, they was killing our women because they was still circumcising their children. And they kept hanging the infants. What they do, they kept hanging the infants. So not only did they kill our women, they hung our babies. Don't that sound familiar? Like how they used to, here in America, they used to take our babies and feed them to alligators just where they can make belts and shoes, right? So, and here they hanging our babies, right? Then it says, they hung their infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that they had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat anything unclean. Therefore, rather die. So a lot of our people, we stood firm and 10 toes down. We said we'd rather die than than eat these unclean foods and unclean meats, right? So a lot of us, decided to we chose death, right? Therefore, the rather to die that they might not be defiled with meat, and they might not be profaned the holy covenant, so they died. And there was a great wrath upon Israel, right? So, and that's what happened, So during that time, when they came into our land, they started wrecking shop. So, we're going to get into the whole Maccabees brothers and how they came through and protected us and saved us from these things. So we're just getting a little extra introduction on how these Greeks people came in and started, changing things and destroying things and setting up shop and taking over Israel. Because like I said, when you read the New Testament, you hear about the Roman people, but nobody knows how the Romans got there, because the current Bible that we read, take out the history that we're reading right now, and then it just fast forward to the New Testament, what people call the New Testament, and without giving you the whole background of how all of that stuff got set up that way. So we're seeing the backdrop of how these things came about. So I'm going to end it there. We're going to get into chapter 2, next time, introducing to the Maccabean brothers and all that stuff, and how they fought against the Greeks, and how we end up coming up with these different holidays such as Hanukkah, destruction of Nicanor, and all that stuff. So till then, I'm gonna say shalom, peace, and hope y'all had learned a little something and a little edification and seeing how these people, how they operate and how they always operated when it came to us. So, like I said, peace, shalom. I'm out.